So much for the dogs. Let's take a look at the main movies on this program. Nice Dreams is the miserable, doped-out comedy by Cheech and Chong, who play perpetually stoned drug dealers. It would have been funnier if they'd played it straight. We both vote no. We can't recommend you see Nice Dreams. But two unexpected yes votes for High Risk, a surprisingly good thriller starring James Brolin, but you have to move quickly to see this one. We both suggest that you do. We split our votes on History of the World Part 1, the new Mel Brooks comedy. I thought it was sophomoric, disappointing, bathroom humor, and I vote no. Gene saw the bathroom humor, but he also laughed a lot at the other jokes, and he votes yes. Finally, two strong yes votes for Clash of the Titans, a charming and exciting adventure starring the Greek gods and Ray Harryhausen's animated monsters. We recommend you see it.
Roger and I split on Cutter's Way, the murder mystery. Roger thought the story was disappointing and meandering. He votes no. He can't recommend you see it. I disagree. I like the mystery and the film's strange love triangle. I vote yes on Cutter's Way. We agree that Federico Fellini's City of Women is a minor Fellini effort, a redundant examination of contemporary man befuddled by today's woman. This film might have been challenging 5 or 10 years ago, not now. We split on the Simone Signoret drama, I Sent a Letter to My Love. Roger thought it was hackneyed sentimentalism. I enjoyed the film's bitter edge. One yes vote from me, a no from Roger. And finally, two very enthusiastic yes votes for Raiders of the Lost Ark, the year's most entertaining movie. In a nutshell, our review is don't miss it.
And that's for sure. We both voted yes on Stripes, the basic training comedy starring Bill Murray. It's a great summer entertainment. We both recommend you see it. But two definite no votes for Eyes of a Stranger, where technical expertise was wasted on sleazy and violent subject matter, a real unsavory film. Two more no votes on the Cannonball Run, the dumb car chase fiasco starring Burt Reynolds. And finally, two very enthusiastic yes votes for Superman 2. Gene and I both thought it was even better than the original.
Maybe we ought to take a look at the summer's movies and how they're developing, because a lot of the big ones are out. One thing that I noticed right away is that a lot of these films are part of what I call the juvenilization of the American movie. These are a lot of films pitched at the young audience, and I'm afraid that I don't like that trend for the only reason that I wish there was a more wide range of material. I think the movies are tending to become the exclusive property of the young, and that bothers me.
Well, it is a trend. I don't know if I dislike it or not. 80% of the movie audience is under the age of 25, and so I guess they might as well make movies for the average moviegoer who is probably 17 or 18 years old. The problem is, as a critic, I'm always writing reviews saying, this movie made me feel like a kid again. Well, I enjoyed that. The Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman 2, it's great to feel like a kid again. Once in a while, I'd like to feel like an adult again.
Okay, I agree with you. Very good. Both Roger and I enjoyed DRAGONSLAYER, a wonderful adventure film with a fabulous flying dragon. Two yes votes for that. We split on the second Muppet movie, The Great Muppet Caper. Roger thought it was too much about the jewel robbery and not enough about the Muppets. He votes no. Well, I didn't like the jewel robbery either, but Miss Piggy was on screen enough for me to recommend the film. And two strong yes votes for the latest James Bond film, For Your Eyes Only. It has one great chase scene after another. And we agree on S.O.B., the Blake Edwards put-down of Hollywood movie making, which he sees as a business full of people who will do anything for a buck. Two recommendations for that.
And by the way, on a program 2 weeks ago, at the end of the show, we listed an R rating for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and actually it's rated PG, so we stand corrected.
Right.
Now, about this show, what do we like the most? Probably S.O.B., right?
That's the one that I would go to see first, and then after S.O.B., I'd go to see the James Bond picture.
And then after that, you go to see DRAGONSLAYER. Actually, after 6 months in 1981 of really slow going at the box office, things are pretty good right now.
A fabulous movie summer.
On the right track is the comedy starring pint-sized Gary Coleman. We both like little Gary, and Gene thought the movie was a bright and original comedy, but I felt a good idea got too cluttered and crowded, so I vote no. Two big yes votes, though, for The Gates of Heaven, the best movie on this program. The brilliant and original documentary about human loneliness as reflected in the stories of two California pet cemeteries. We vote yes. We suggest you look for this film in an art theater or your local film society. Two more yes votes for The Fox and the Hound, the latest animated feature from Walt Disney. We liked its animation and its serious message. We split on Escape from New York. Gene thought it was an exciting thriller. I felt the story became too much of a caricature of itself. And we also split on Force 5. Gene votes yes and thought it was an exciting kung fu romp. I feel this film was no better than the other kung fu movies which have preceded it. And by the way, 2 weeks ago on Sneak Previews, while reviewing Beyond Evil, one of the Dogs of the Week starring John Saxon, I mistakenly said that Saxon was our new ambassador to Mexico. Well, actually, of course, John Gavin is our ambassador to Mexico, and he was not in Beyond Evil. So apologies to John Gavin, John Saxon, and Mexico. We disagreed on Arthur, the comedy starring Dudley Moore as an eccentric drunken millionaire. I thought Moore was inspired in a difficult role. Gene votes no, because he couldn't stand that character or Liza Minnelli's character. We agree, though, on Endless Love, the teenage romance starring Brooke Shields. We agree that Shields is very beautiful. We agree that the movie is very bad. 2 no votes. 2 more no votes for Zorro, the Gay Blade, starring George Hamilton in a satire of the venerable Hollywood hero. I thought the gags were obvious and the story wasn't intrinsically funny. Gene liked the straight Zorro, not the gay one. He joins me in voting no. We both gave big yes votes to Blowout, the Brian De Palma thriller starring John Travolta as a movie sound man who stumbles onto a conspiracy. We both think it's one of the year's best movies.
So I guess the message is obvious from the show. Go see Blowout.
Blowout is a real good movie. I liked Arthur, too, and the others are not so hot.
Okay.
We split our votes on Victory, the thriller starring Sylvester Stallone, Michael Caine, and a wartime soccer game. I vote no. I thought the movie was made up of predictable ingredients, but Gene liked the movie's rousing conclusion. He votes yes. We agree on Condorman, the Disney Studio's secret agent spoof. 2 no votes because despite its sometimes high spirits, the hero never was made into a truly comic character, and you could see those wires. Another disagreement on Loulou, the French slice-of-life film. Gene thought it was romantic and entertainingly subversive. He votes yes. I vote no. I never really had the feeling the movie was about 3-dimensional characters. And 2 no votes for Under the Rainbow, starring Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher and 150 little people in a screwball comedy about Hollywood's golden age. The movie has some good jokes in it, but it endlessly repeats them.
Well, this show is easy to sum up. You didn't like anything. I like Victory and Loulou.
We agree on Continental Divide, the romantic comedy starring John Belushi and Blair Brown. It's rated PG. We thought it was warm and funny. We both recommend you see it. That's why there's a yes after both of our names. 2 no votes, though, for Only When I Laugh, with Marsha Mason as a mixed-up alcoholic. It's triviality masquerading as seriousness. We can't recommend you see this film. 2 big yes votes for Body Heat, the chilling thriller starring William Hurt as a man in love, in heat, and in trouble. But 2 disappointed no votes for Mommie Dearest, the portrait of Joan Crawford as a child abuser. Faye Dunaway is fine in her role, but the film is pointlessly depressing. And finally, 2 no votes on First Monday in October, a well-meaning but endlessly talkative comedy about the Supreme Court.
So clearly the message is go see Body Heat.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Roger and I agreed that Rich and Famous was too much of a potboiler and thus ruined strong performances by Candice Bergen and Jacqueline Bisset. So 2 no votes for this R-rated film. Neither one of us can recommend you see it. And neither of us can recommend the Ryan O'Neal Blue Jeans comedy So Fine. It had a good start, but unfortunately it turned into a slapstick chase picture. Roger likes it a little bit more than I do, but nevertheless, 2 no votes. We split on the Australian film Gallipoli. Roger enjoyed its well-adapted heroism, but I thought it was a predictable rendition of an anti-war theme. We both enjoyed the acting of Robert De Niro and Robert Duvall in True Confessions. 2 strong yes votes for that, but we were both disappointed by the ending of the film. And we split again on the offbeat Western Catalani and Little Britches. Roger thought it was charming and funny. He votes yes. I thought it was a soft treatment of an interesting story. I vote no.
So the only one we agree on this week is True Confessions. We both give that yes votes.
But I'll tell you this, if I had to pick another one that I'm a little bit changing my mind, Catalani, a little bit.
Catalani, thanks a lot.
Neither one of us like All the Marbles with Peter Falk as the manager of 2 lady wrestlers. It's a silly story and too much hair pulling. 2 no votes for that. We both enjoyed Walter Hill's dramatic Louisiana Bayou story, Southern Comfort, a gripping parallel to the Vietnam War. And we both admired Glenda Jackson as British poet Stevie Smith in Stevie, a 4-year-old film that is just now making its way around the country. We both recommend you see it. And we agreed once again on Chariots of Fire, the story of 2 very different runners on the 1924 British Olympic team. I enjoyed the film, but Roger thinks it's one of the year's finest.
You liked it. I thought it was one of the year's best. I liked Stevie, and you thought it was one of the year's best.
Okay.
So we have a couple of good finds.
And one more, which is Southern Comforts, because
Comfort.
I think, I can't remember a film show where we had 3 strong films like that. All good.
We had real slim pickings this week. We both voted no on everything. That included The Watcher in the Woods, starring Lynn Holly Johnson on the trail of Betty Davis's missing daughter. The plot didn't make sense. The suspense was missing. 2 no votes. We were also disappointed by Halloween 2, the sequel to a much, much better 1978 film. Part 2 lacked the style and the scares. We both vote no. 2 more no votes for Priest of Love, the biography of D.H. Lawrence. We did admire Ian McKellen's performance as Lawrence, but we both thought the movie went more for the scandals than for the truth. And our final 2 no votes for another biography, Chanel Solitaire, the ridiculously superficial, dim-witted view of Coco Chanel's sex life.
Well, not much to see there, but I think we both still recommend French Lieutenant's Woman and Prince of the City.
And Chariots of Fire also.
A split decision on Time Bandits. Roger found it a delightful adventure film. I saw some dull patches. He votes yes. I reluctantly vote no. We both like Francois Truffaut's The Woman Next Door. Roger found it more provocative than I did, but we both vote yes. And 2 strong yes votes for Man of Iron, the drama about the Polish labor movement. And finally, another split on The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, the hijack comedy. Roger found it entertaining. He votes yes. Recommending you see it, I found it an uneven mess of arguments and chases. I vote no.
Absence of Malice stars Sally Field as a newspaper reporter, and Paul Newman as the man she slanders and loves. I thought it was well acted, entertaining. I vote yes. Gene gives it a reluctant no vote. He felt it was entertaining, but he faults the Sally Field character as wildly overwritten. 2 no votes, though, for Buddy Buddy, Billy Wilder's very disappointing comedy starring Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, 2 comic legends wasted in a comedy without laughs. 2 strong yes votes for Peixoto, the new Brazilian drama about the life and criminal education of a street urchin. This film is not for children, but it is strong, dramatic, unforgiving, and unforgettable. And finally, 2 very strong yes votes for Ragtime, Milos Forman's ambitious portrait of American life in the first decade of this century. Among the movie's many delights is a great supporting performance by the legendary James Cagney.
I think the message of this show is rather obvious, and that is Ragtime.
Ragtime. You know, when I heard that Jimmy Cagney was coming out of retirement after 20 years, frankly, I expected, you know, just a small, he'd be on the screen for 30 seconds or 45 seconds. It's a real role. It's got a lot of meat to it, and it's a really fine performance by Cagney. He still has the old magic.
Well, he's great, and the movie's great, too.
Heartbeats stars Andy Kaufman and Bernadette Peters in a whimsical, much too sentimental story of 2 robots in love. We both vote no. The story got awfully thin and boring, repetitive. But 2 yes votes for Cinderella, the Disney animated classic, now in re-release all around the country. The movie got my first yes vote back in 1949 when I was 7. People asked, do movie critics ever change their mind? Well, not me. It gets another yes vote now. We split on Taps, the story of military cadets who try to defend their school by force. Gene votes no. He thought the movie was silly, illogical, and laughable. I differ strongly with a yes vote for this allegory of adolescence and their battle with authority. Finally, 2 more yes votes for Taxi Zoom Klo, the shockingly frank film about the life and many loves of a West German homosexual. We admire the film's honesty about the humanity of its characters, but one note, this film contains graphic sex scenes that may be appropriate only for adults.
Well, that's it for this week. We'll continue our Taps argument some other place. Next time in a special sneak previews, Roger and I will pick the year's best movies with scenes from films that have made our top 10 lists, including Body Heat, starring William Hurt in a 40s-style story of murder and lust, Atlantic City, Louis Malle's portrait of a revitalized gangster in a revitalized city, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, the feature film version of a slam-bang Saturday afternoon serial. That's next week. Until then, Happy New Year, and see you at the movies.
Funding for sneak previews was provided by this station and by other public television stations.